Hi everybody, it's Joni Young here. Welcome back for another painting tutorial in acrylics. Today I'm going to show you how to paint a simple winter scene with some soothing colors and some berries and branches to frame it in around the edges here. So it's really going to draw us in. We're going to have the most color here with a pop of reds for our berries. And we're going to create a beautiful shade of gray using some Mars Black and Phthalo Blue with white. And then we'll also be using a touch of Luminous Yellow, Luminous Orange with white for some warmth for the sky in the background and lighting from a little cabin. And we're going to be using Napthol Crimson and Pyrol Red for our berries. I'm working on a 16 by 20 stretched canvas, and I have a number 70 flat brush to paint the background with. And I'm going to be using a number 3 round brush for small details, a 2 rigger for some branches and thin lines, and my number 20 flat brush. So if you guys are ready, let's go ahead and get started with this painting. I'm going to wet my canvas with some water first. This will help me blend my acrylics out better. Once I spray it down, I'm just going to brush it across the canvas to make sure that it's evenly coated. And I'm going to start with my white and yellow, a little bit of each. And I'm just going to add it here in the center. Then I'm going to come in with some more white and a little bit of orange. So just to show you how little I have on here. A little goes a long way with these luminous paints. I know this is going to dry a little darker, so I'm just adding a little bit of extra white. And I'm just going to pick up a little bit more of each yellow and orange. So I'll take some white first and then a little bit of blue and black. I'm going to add a little bit there and just go follow all the edges of the canvas. And just carefully start softening those edges. I'm going to add a little bit more blue and white. And start bringing this in a little closer to the center. I'll take a little bit more of the blue and black. Make sure that we've got it dark enough. And I didn't mention this brush at the beginning, but this is a dry mop brush, and all I'm going to do is just lightly go over and blend this out. Little circles. It's important that you use a dry mop brush. And now this one is starting to get a little bit too wet. So I'm going to switch over to another one. that's dry and clean, and I'll be able to soften a little bit better, giving the background more of an airbrushed blended look. Now I'm going to take my 20 flat brush, a little bit of water, and I'm going to mix up some more of this blue, black, a little bit of white mixture. Crisscross or figure eight to load it. And I'm going to start back here just with the corner of my brush like this. And then I'm going to start to wiggle side to side and pull it side to side. A little bit of water, a little bit more paint, each of blue and black. I'm just going to take my misting bottle of water and just directly mist the canvas. And then we'll just have this disappear into the outer edges where we're going to have our berries and branches. I'm going to take a little bit of white and gently mix that up on the end of my brush with the gray. Take a little bit more. And just start adding some snow mounds, little lumps of snow piled up on either side. I just kind of lift up a little bit. You can make it flat if you want, but I want to create a raised look to give the snow depth. And then we'll leave some of that peach visible, the soft peachy sky color background. I'm gonna add a little bit more white. This is gonna give us multiple tones of gray, which will really help the painting feel peaceful. And then I'm going to come in here with a little bit of extra blue and black. Mix that up with a little bit of the soft gray. I've got just a little bit of that in my brush. And then I'm going to just come under here and add a little bit more color and contrast, shadows. And I'm going to go back over to a little bit of black and white. A little bit of water is in my brush from washing it out. And I'm going to lightly pull and flick. Now I need a little bit more water, so see how it's kind of really dry like that? I'm going to soften that a little bit with water, and you'll see how that changes the consistency and the flow of the paint out of my brush. So just pulling these light little flicks like this, and then I'm going to turn my brush this way and add some tree trunks. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. I like this bit of extra peach in here, so I don't want to cover all that up. We're just going to have tree trunks with some branches. All the leaves have fallen off. Okay, I'm going to take a little bit of extra blue, black, and orange with a little bit of that light gray in there. So that's a touch of blue, black, luminous orange, and a little bit of white, and we'll get this beautiful shade of mocha. We're going to pull up into those tree trunks. Take a little bit of white, and I'm just going to add a little bit of a angle here at the base of these trees. And then I'm just going to slide over part of these tree trunks. And we're going to have our little winter cabin or cottage on this side. And I'm just going to mix up a little bit of this mocha color with some more white. Like a little bit of a dove white or dove gray shade. Just a little bit like this. Some background branches. Then we'll come in with our liner or rigger brush and add some smaller branches. So I'm going to use my number 2 rigger liner brush, some water on it, back into my mocha. I'm going to actually soften that with a little bit of that dove gray, and handle pointing up. I'm going to just kind of shake and wiggle. You can make your branches straight if you want. Paint them however you like, but I find the easiest way to make them look a little more natural is to just give it a little bit of a shake. And I'm going to add another little tree down here. It's really important to have some water in your brush to help your brush flow, or the paint flow out of your brush, especially when you're using these liners. Okay, just a few more little odds and ends here. And I want to add just a touch of this color, just a hint of this color here and there. Just to help bring the painting all together. I'm going to change my brush. Just go over to my little round brush here. My small number 3 round. Add a little bit of white in there. And I'm going to go back into my blue and black and choose this area here down below that's closest to us to add a little bit more intensity. Okay, now I'm going to come in and start working on our little cottage. And I'm going to use my blue, black, some brown. Well, I'm going to make brown with the orange. See how easy it is? You could use red too if you want. It'll give you a little bit of a different color. Okay, we're just going to paint a simple cottage. I'm going to start off with a triangle for the peaked front of the house. Then we're going to come in. We'll paint that in. I'm going to take a little bit of white, a little bit more orange. Pull some lines across inside. Okay, then we're going to go from the end of the triangle, pull across, slant, and then slant and kind of scoop down. I like to do that just to exaggerate and give my little cabins a little bit more of a cozy, lived-in look to them. Okay, I'll go back over, mix up a little bit more of my orange, blue, and black. I'm going to cut right in there, use just a little bit more of the black for more of a shadow on the inside there. A thinner one there. Come right down underneath, partially over that roof line on the side here. This will give us a nice shadow. And then we're just going to pull back and forth, side to side, from one corner to the next. And bring one more down here. Let's dry this off and then start coming in with the snow on our roof. Light on this side, and we'll add a couple windows, a chimney. Okay, so for the snow, I'm going to use some blue and white. I'm going to have a shadow on the snow on this side. And I'm not using any water. Just straight paint for this. And I'm going to add the paint pretty thick. and we're going to have it go partially over the dark shadow line. We're going to come up this pointy top, we're going to round over that, and we're going to add a thin line of snow on the other side of the shadow. Going to add a little bit down here of that light powdery blue, maybe a little bit on the trees. Just dry brushing it, kind of gives them a birch tree look, and also like there's a little bit of snow on there. I'm gonna add a little bit more white now. This is gonna dry a little bit darker. I'm gonna add a few little dabs. Just get this on my brush a bit better. On the tip of my brush, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Can add a little bit on this end too, just to make it look like there's a bit of snow on the end of the logs. And I'm going to take a little bit of yellow and white. I'm going to add a little window up here, a little one here, and a little window on the top of our door. And I'll add 3 longer windows here on the side. And I'm just going to come around with a little bit of black. I'm going to go under the roof line once more. You bring 2 lines down for the door and 1 on the top. And we'll just box in that window with a frame here of black. I'm going to clean up that shadow underneath, make it a little more visible. Now we can add a chimney. Just going to take that bit of water, a little bit leftover orange, that mocha shade, and I'm going to add a chimney right here, just a little line like that. Gets a little narrower on the top. We'll add a little shadow. And I'm going to take more of my yellow here, mix it in with that brownish color that's going on there, and I'm going to paint inside the door. Give it a different color. And then just clean this edge up here with a little bit more black. I'm going to take a little bit of my blue and white and add a little dab of snow and a highlight here on the left side of the chimney. Add a little bit right here on the side. And you know what? We could add a little bit of snow, tiny bits of snow. Here, just resting on maybe some either trim or window boxes even. Okay, now I'm going to add a little bit of smoke coming out of the chimney. It may not be visible because, might not be that visible because I'm adding white to already a pale background, but I'm just going to take a little dab of white here and then kind of just smush around with my brush. I'll take a little bit more. Just a little bit more white here. I may add some more white once the roof dries. And I'm going to choose one of these windows to add a little bit of, this is the Pyrol red, the Luminous yellow. Let's take a little bit more yellow. A little bit of white in here. I just dried this part off right here because it was a little bit too wet. I just want to add different tones of light so it's not the same all over the house in every window. So just dabbing a little bit here in the door, the window of the door, and just the rest in the front. Okay, so I'm going to add a little bit extra snow on the roof. Again, my blue and white. Might even be a little path kind of in here that would be in shadow because the snow's been stepped on, pushing it down, and the light won't hit it there, so that's why I'm just adding a little dab and wiggle here for just a little bit of a path. And now I think we're ready to start coming in with the branches and the berries. So I'm going to start off with this round brush, and I'm going to be taking a little bit more orange. I'll apply it right there. I'm going to mix black and orange, a little bit of blue. So we've got a deep dark shade of brown here. And I'm just going to start going around in sort of an oval shape like this. Not trying to make perfectly smooth, seamless lines. It's going to be kind of rough looking because it's just a bunch of twisted branches. Alternating with some water to help thin the paint out a little bit so that I can go a little bit further with my paint. I'm going to switch over to my flat brush really quick and show you how you can apply these brush strokes the same way, and you might find it a little bit easier. I think I'm going to, because this is a large area, I'm trying to go around. Might be able to do this quicker, more efficiently with my 20 flat brush, same colors on the end of my brush, and yeah, this is more effective and efficient. I'm gonna have just a little bit more of the tiny bit of black in there. A little bit of black goes a long, long way. So what we want to do is ultimately have snow on here and add some more little branches that are just gonna start to blend in with these other branches here. Okay, I'm gonna rinse my brush out. I'm gonna add a little bit of white in here. Make a warm color. Pick up a little bit more of the yellow, that bit of red that was up there. And we're gonna go inside some of these and just make some lighter tones of brown. I like to just load the end of my brush for painting branches. Okay, now I'm going to switch over to my long liner brush, get a little bit of water on there, mix up some more of this. I'll take some red in there, a little bit more of the yellow. A little bit more black, more water, and we're just going to start pulling out some smaller branches here. Really wet that paint. I got a little oops there. I can get rid of that pretty easily because it's so watery. It's easy to remove. Okay, I'm gonna dry this off completely and then I'm gonna start coming in with the berries. Once we add the berries, we're gonna come in and add snow over everything. Okay, it's time to paint our berries. I'm gonna be using my round brush for this, and I'm gonna start with a Napthol Crimson with a little bit of black. We'll just mix it up here. So we're just gonna make a dark shade of red to start. And this will give us the shadows for our berries. Once we add this base coat, we'll come over with straight crimson, and then we'll come over with our brighter, or Pyrol red. And I'm gonna start up here and then we'll work our way down. So I'm just gonna add these in little groupings, 3 or 4 at a time. You want to make them pretty big because you want to have room for some snow. You don't want them to all be covered up with snow. And then I'm just going to keep going here. Let's add some on this branch. You could have some smaller, I guess, little baby ones. They don't all have to be the same size. Just be careful about how much snow we add. Gonna have some coming out here and overlapping the background. Mix up a little bit more here. I love doing this over top or around a little landscape. I think it just really creates a charming scene, and you can change it up. You know, you can do any kind of little landscape. If you want to do a spring or summer one, just add little, you can do the little berries, just no snow on them. You could add little strawberries. I've actually done, I think I've got one here on my channel or on Patreon with some little strawberries and butterflies within the wreath, and flowers, of course. And then you can make them into little greeting cards after. When you're taking photos of your finished paintings, make sure that there's no glare. You want to always take your photos, final photos of your paintings, if you're wanting to make prints or just have them for a portfolio. No sealer or varnish whatsoever on them. Even if it's matte, believe me, it'll create some type of glare. It's just a weird thing that happens, and I learned that the hard way when I was just starting out with making prints. But yeah, I think this would make a really pretty greeting card scene. You could even have, like, you could add a snowman and a Christmas tree inside. Okay, I'll just add a few more here, and then we'll start coming in with the crimson red. We'll dry that off and add the Napthol or the Pyrol. I keep getting my reds mixed up. Okay, so I've just dried them off. There's a few areas where the paint's still a little bit thick and a little bit wet. I'll just be careful, but I'm gonna take my crimson red. We'll start at the top. And I'm gonna start adding this just right over top. I'm gonna add a hint of white in with it. I don't want to turn my crimson pink, but I also want it to show up with that dark base. So by adding a little bit of white to it, it'll make it a little bit brighter. you guys have been enjoying the holiday season and all these tutorials. Make sure you haven't missed out on any. I've got a lot of beautiful exclusive tutorials available on Patreon and a playlist here, Winter and Christmas. I've categorized and made some beautiful playlists here. So if you feel like painting Winter and Christmas, or if you want to delve into fantasy, I've got a whole playlist of that. Animals, portraits, cityscapes, flowers, you name it, I've got it. Okay, I think this is coming together nicely. I'm going to continue along here. Add a little bit more white to my red again. Some black on there where it's still wet, so I'll just wipe that off. It's not a big deal if you mix up a little bit of the black base mixture in. You'll just get so many different shades of red, and that can be really nice because it changes the lighting up in that area, making it more natural, so it's not the same lighting throughout the wreath here. And there's many different shades of red that you can use if you don't have the Napthol Crimson and the Pyrol red. Use any reds you want. Even pink would be really pretty. A bright pink or bright orange. So we're getting close to being done this step, and then we'll dry it off again, and then we'll come in with our Pyrol red. Then the fun part of adding snow to everything. Okay, now that I've dried it off, we can start coming in and adding a little bit of white, mix that in with our Pyrol red here. That'll keep it nice and bright. Start at the top, and I'm going to add this in the middle because we're going to be adding the snow on the top. Add a little bit more white in here. So to make them all a little different, sometimes I'm adding a little bit more and sometimes I'm just adding a little dab. So just changing up the amount of pressure that I apply with my brush. Okay, I'll rinse this brush out. And I'm going to take a little bit of white and make this a little bit brighter. And I'm going to choose a few areas, a few little berries to dab a little bit of a shine on. Just a little dab. Okay, and we'll dry this off and start adding our snow. Okay, so now that it's dry, I'm going to start coming over with a little bit of blue gray. So just mixing up a little bit of white with that blue and a touch of black. And I'm going to start down here and I'm going to add a thick layer of snow. I'm going to add little bits over the berries. And the branches. And I'll add brighter white on the top here so it stands out from the gray underneath or in the background. We've got the little bit of blue in between, which is working as our shadows on some snow in between these branches. And then just a little bit of white really helps to bring all that snow together. A little dab and go up and over on those berries. Doesn't have to be really neat and tidy because it's snow on top of them and it's a little bit messy, and you want to like overlap them. You want to overlap those berries by adding some snow over top of one that's maybe in front of it, like I did right here and here. If you want it to feel really 3D, I've got a little bit of red that's wet in some areas, but if you want it to feel really 3D, use a thick amount of paint like I'm doing here, and you'll be left with a texture. And you'll also get some extra shadows in there because the paint pops out, so when the light hits it, it'll create a little bit of a shadow. Add some more white here. Really applying it generously. Okay, I'm going to add some thick snow in here. So if I'm really quiet, it's because I'm in the zone and I'm just doing the same technique over and over again. But I think you guys understand the concept here. Just being pretty generous. Unless you just want it to look more frosty-like, it's gonna look pretty no matter what. It looks pretty no matter how much snow that you decide to add. So don't stress out about it. Enjoy the process, because this is one of my more relaxing paintings. I really enjoy painting snowy scenes that are inviting and remind you that winter can be cozy and include beautiful colors and skies. Twist and wiggle the brush and roll it around for some of these branches in here. Okay, and I'm just gonna look through here and make sure that I've got all my berries accounted for. There's a group there that I missed. You can add a little shiny dot inside some of them too, like we did earlier with the Pyrol red and the white. This one's just gonna make them a little extra shiny or frosty looking. And then make sure you pick a few areas that you're gonna apply thicker snow to so that it looks a little different than all the other areas. So, you know, it just changes it up. Change up the amount of snow. Add a little bit more there on the roof. And I'm just going to come through here and add a little bit here and there, some thinner ones. And now what I want to do is just soften back here with a little bit of white. Just soften. Blur this out a little bit. I'm just going to mix up some black and Pyrol red. Use my liner brush here. And just come under this branch. I'm going to bring out a few more of these branches a little bit more. I'm going to apply a little bit of white over top. I have a few little icicles. Well, this painting was so much fun. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Have fun painting your own. And thanks for watching. I'll see you next time in another video. Bye!